For this last demo, we will modify the sketch from Lecture 38, Demo 2, so that instead of working with an Ethernet shield, it will work with a CC3000 Wi-Fi breakout. We will use the exact same circuit as in Demo 2. Let's go straight to the sketch and see what's different. In the last demo for this lecture, we're going to create a hybrid between the sketch that we saw in Lecture 38, Demo 2, and the one from this lecture in Demo 2 as well. So I want to create a web server that runs on the Arduino that I'll be able to connect to using a web browser, perhaps on my smartphone, and use that to control this LED. So I'm going to show you how this sketch works, make sure that it works of course, and then quickly go through the sketch itself and see what's in it. Let's upload it first. Okay, let's connect. Okay, we have connected to my network, which is called Galactica, by the way. This is the URL. Sorry, this is the IP address that my DHCP server has given to the Arduino. So I'm going to copy that and put it in my web browser. Alright, and here's the interface that allows me to control the LED. So if I click on this button, the LED will go on. Click on this one, LED will go off. It's exactly what we saw back in Lecture 38. Now, there's not much that I needed to change in order to make this sketch work with the Adafruit Wi-Fi module. Essentially, although the first few bits and pieces are exactly the same. So here's one difference. This line here is necessary in order, as we saw before, to give us an object that represents a module, so we can start it. We didn't have something like this in Lecture 38 because the Ethernet shield did not need something like this. Another difference is this line here. So in Lecture 38, we were using the Ethernet server class in order to create a server object. Here, we're using the Adafruit CC3000 server class instead. But syntactically, it pretty much looks identically. So we've got a name for the new object, and we pass through the listening port, which is again port 80. In the setup, exactly what happened in Demo 2 of this lecture happens here as well. So we create a connection to the local access point. We check the DHCP to get the connection parameters, the network parameters. We display those parameters so we can find out what the allocated IP address is. Then we get into the loop. Again, the loop is identical to what we saw back in Lecture 38, and the only difference is this line here. Back in Lecture 38, we're using the Ethernet client class to create a class, to create an object that represented the connected client. In this case here, we use the Adafruit CC3000 client ref class instead. But again, the syntax is identical. That's all there is to it. What's inside the loop, the part that passes, the HTTP request is identical to that in Lecture 38. Further down, we've got the functions that in this case construct the page. You'll see here again, instead of using the original Ethernet client class, we now use the Adafruit CC3000 client ref class instead. Same thing happens with the print header function and print confirmation and print form and page and so on. So no change here. The pass, get request function is the same. Execute instruction is exactly the same. So creating this sketch to allow us to run a web server on the Arduino and connect the Arduino to the outside world using the Wi-Fi module is pretty much 100% the same as we saw in lecture 38. The only difference was that we're now using the classes that are specifically designed to work with the Wi-Fi shield, the Wi-Fi module, instead of the Ethernet shield. And that's about it. In this lecture, we covered a lot of ground in regards to using the Adafruit CC3000 Wi-Fi module to control our Arduino wirelessly. The module we used still has its supporting library under development, so I expect that its features and stability will improve over time. The module comes in two types, one with a built-in ceramic antenna and one with a connector for an external antenna. An external antenna can be used for projects where range is important, like when you want to control your quadcopter outdoors. As an exercise for this lecture, how about you try to extend the Demo 2 and Demo 3 examples with the ability to control more devices. For example, for Demo 2, add a couple of lines in the instructions file so that you can control additional LEDs or motors. You may want to review lecture 39 for this. Because polling takes place every few minutes, you would use Demo 2 sample in a project like home automation and control, where real time is not necessary.